Hi, my name is now Shay. I'm a senior instructor in the Department of Horticulture at Oregon State University, and we are out today at our beautiful Oak Creek Center for Urban Horticulture. I'm standing in front of what we've come to refer to as the urban garden row, and essentially we took 1,000 square feet, a 10 by 100 foot long strip, and with two able-bodied helpers, see how many plants we could get in here. And essentially it's designed to inspire, I think, the home gardener. Everything we're looking at here is empirical. It's not a replicated trial of any sort, and that's not what we're after. We want to have more fun than that. Not that hort research isn't fun. I don't want my hort research friends to think I think that. But I want something that was accessible to the average individual coming off the street, and that means you have to have a lot of wow factor. I think people, when I start a conversation about sustainability, I never mention that word. I talk about producing food, which I'm not the biggest fan of for various reasons that I won't get into, and color in the garden, and then the conversation can move on to, hey, did you realize that a lot of these colorful plants are attractive to pollinators? A lot of these seeming singular entities to produce food also can include, fiber, fuel, and medicine. Bigger story there. But what we also want to explore besides those aspects is how to grow plants in different ways, and containers are one way to do that. And we have some monster grow bags here. One of them is just to my left, doing a great job. We used some large containers, some 25-gallon containers. We threw up some quick trellises to see how that works, and probably what anchored this whole row for many years is the the green tower. And you can hardly see the tower for the tower now with all the plants coming out of it, but Kathleen is going to talk a little bit more about that and its benefits in urban environments. So I think the big push more than anything is just to create some sort of ecosystem. It doesn't have to be strictly native plants. It has to be coherent and has to work. Now, having said that, most of our cropping systems to produce food are annual cropping systems that do require some water, although probably more is put down than is actually needed. Again, we're not really getting into that here. This was more so as designed to be something that had strong visual appeal while it's producing food and providing forage and overall habitat for pollinators. I'm watching a hummingbird on a plant as we're talking, and a myriad number of bees already going here. So I'm pretty happy with it. This is probably the best it's looked, thanks to the two individuals you'll hear from shortly, in probably about 3 years that I've been focused on this direction. So I think it's a ad hoc trial, as it were, that is really appealing to homeowners, residential settings, as well as even commercial settings.
Hi everybody, I'm Kathleen Dennis. I'm a volunteer here at Oak Creek Center. I've had the privilege of working for the first year in this beautiful urban bed. I've been part of a collaboration this year. And obviously, I love flowers. So we had a couple goals this year, and one was to pack as many things in this garden as possible and show the use of space, inspiration, as Al was talking about. We had another goal of feeding as many people as possible. So I have worked to combine flowers and vegetables together and see how that would turn out. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to deadhead some of these flowers now and take them down so that there are veggies in here, believe it or not. And so at this point in the season, I'd get in there and I'd really clip back because we have some eggplant, we have cabbages. Those two do really well covered up with flowers, it turns out. And when I get everything deadheaded down by about half, the vegetables can just really thrive. And then I thought I'd put in a few more vegetables for winter use, collards. I have some broccoli rabe started, tuck those in, a little bit of kale, and then the flowers will come back up, make a second flush, and by late fall, mid-fall, we'll probably have another glorious garden about this height. and we'll be able to eat as well. So our green tower, we were going for vegetables, flowers, texture, lots of texture happening, and some plant choice surprises. We had some gourds planted at the base, thinking they would go outward, and they just didn't behave themselves. You have to know the plant choices when you do vertical gardening. We had gourds kind of go up and over, and then there were things like lemon cucumbers that just didn't have their due. So a few surprises. Lemon cucumbers go up as well as down, which is really wonderful. We've got Takani buckwheat, which is a lovely texture and beautiful plant. And it surprised me because although it looks really wispy, it's sturdy enough to stake up things like cucumbers, which is really convenient. So yeah, there's our whimsical tower full of texture. While I'm here, I wanted to talk about the pots that we used. We also have panels of wire, and so utilizing the vertical space, some of these vines and go down, and they spread out and go up the wire panels, as well as the plants on the wire panels kind of billow out. So that's another really great use of space in a small area.
Hi, my name is Myrtle, and I am an undergraduate student in horticulture, minoring in Spanish, and I'm about halfway through my 5-something year degree. And this summer I've been working out at Oak Creek, and I volunteer with Shay for his Urban Horticulture row here, and he's allowed me to start a project that's sort of working on everything that's near and dear to me in plants. At least the plants that we eat, and that is understanding where they come from and their diversity, who domesticated them, what cultures they're important to, how they came to us, and how much more there is for us to learn about the food that we grow and eat. So I went with a small group from here at OSU through the Food Culture and Social Justice program. It was a faculty-led program to Ecuador this past winter break, and we joined with a group of Ecuadorians organized by Joan Gross, Professor Gross, and Mark Edwards. And our trip, first the Ecuadorians came here, and we went around Oregon to look at sites. We were studying the food system and comparing Oregon and Ecuador. There's some similarities and of course vast differences, but we're both tied together in this international system, which was really instigated when Columbus came to the Americas and just started this whole sea change of where food is grown and how it is traded and who eats it, who's allowed to grow it, who has the land, who runs the food distribution system. So we looked at food production in Oregon and Ecuador, and I was just completely mesmerized and immersed in this whole concept together, and then looking at it hands-on. And I also have a seed collecting habit. So when in Ecuador, I fell in love with certain foods like edible lupins, and I have a habit of trying to grow plants that might not usually grow or make it out here in Oregon. And so this is yet another project in that vein. And in this particular garden, because of COVID, there was a break, and I didn't, for a month and a half, I didn't really get to pull together what I had planned, including planting pineapples, which are, they come from South America, and they grow all over the lower elevations of Ecuador. They're an important crop there too. But I don't know if most people may not know that you can cut off the top of a pineapple and grow your own plant. But here in this garden, I have a mixture that kind of honors the different groups of the Americas. that domesticated and brought us our food. That includes the indigenous peoples of Latin America, but also Africans who were brought over and enslaved and brought their own seeds and foods and contributed to Latin American food, which in turn was traded or brought to Europe and then brought to North America, to our country, where today we grow tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, beans, without really thinking about where it came from, how important it was to humanity. So this garden reflects some of what I saw in Ecuador, which is kind of based on what, I don't know, most Americans are somewhat familiar with milpas, which is an indigenous Mexican tradition, very ancient. It, came about when plants were domesticated. This idea of the three sisters of corn, squash, and beans grown together, and they serve a different purpose in the garden, and it keeps your soil healthier and produces better plants. So here in the Quechua areas of Ecuador and other parts of the Andes, the milpas or family plots are called chacras, and it's very similar. So in the middle you would have corn surrounded by beans and squash, and then other plants that were important to the family and to tradition, and possibly to sell in the market. So I wanted this piece to kind of reflect how a chakra is operated, and it's definitely more ceremonial looking than functional, because I wanted many different plants to be represented. So each section of my little garden here has a story to it. It's not quite all it could be. I hope I get to continue this project and keep working on it, involve other students, to be able to talk more about these and bring all of these to fruition, because I think they're wonderful. That's my